What's happening, world? B Marsh Boxing, and I'm back at it with another video. So, RAYFUL Edmonds III, former cocaine kingpin, the biggest cocaine kingpin ever to come out of Washington, D.C. Well, federal prosecutors and a federal judge on Tuesday has granted the man a prison sentence reduction. All right. Prosecutors say he ran the RAYFUL Edmonds in the 80s, mid 80s to early 90s, well, at least till 1990. He ran the largest cocaine operation in D.C. All right. So on Tuesday, he's getting a step closer to coming home, and a federal judge decided that he served enough time for his case in Washington, D.C., and the judge's name is Judge Emmett Sullivan, and he's decided to reduce RAYFUL Edmonds' prison sentence of life without parole to 20 years, basically off the strength that the man RAYFUL Edmonds, for 2 decades, has been cooperating with prosecutors and drug and homicide cases in Washington, D.C. and other parts of the USA. Okay, RAYFUL Edmonds is about 56 years old now. He's been in prison since he got convicted in 1990, right? So about, almost about like 31, 32 years. And, despite the judge order, it's a possibility he might not be freed anytime soon, just off the strength that the man RAYFUL Edmonds also has a case pending in Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? So the backstory of that case in Pennsylvania is, RAYFUL Edmonds got knocked in 1989, actually. In 1989, right? Got convicted in 1990 and was sent to Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary up there in, I don't know if it's Allentown, PA or Lewisburg, PA, somewhere up there in the mountains over there in Pennsylvania, right? And RAYFUL Edmonds, if when you go to these kind of federal prisons, dogs, you're going to like a career criminal university, you know what I mean? Because you're only going to be in there with hardened criminals as yourself, as in RAYFUL Edmonds' case, you know what I mean? You're going to meet fellas who in there, not no fellas who in there for stealing cars or carjacking or robbing the 7-Eleven. Nah, Slim, you're going to be in there with kingpins, drug lords, movers and shakers, fellas who've touched millions, you know what I mean? In the illegal trades, whatever they were involved in. All right. So the man RAYFUL Edmonds goes into the Lewisburg Federal Prison with his co-defendants, among others, for Tony Lewis, free Tony Lewis, but we'll talk about Tony Lewis before this video ends. And RAYFUL Edmonds, ironically, the feds put him in his cellmate is a young boy named Chinky Oswaldo. All right, if you know who Chinky Oswaldo is, he's the son of Griselda Blanco, the famous godmother of cocaine, you know what I mean? From out of Colombia, Medellin cartel. Was in Medellin or Cali cartel, one of the two. Was based out in New York and Queens before she moved her operations down to Miami, Florida, in Dade County. And if you don't know about Griselda Blanco, go do some homework, you know what I mean? Basically, she was a cocaine kingpin godmother, you know what I mean? And her sons, obviously, through an extension of her, also are big cocaine dealers. And actually, her sons, Chinky Oswaldo, and I forgot the other son's name, was in the federal prison doing time for cocaine. And as soon as he finished his time, he was going to get deported, right? He is not American. He's from Colombia. Well, that was RAYFUL Edmonds' cellmate. And what you think? The man RAYFUL Edmonds was a big coke dealer on the streets of Washington, D.C., the biggest ever to come out the District of Columbia. He hooked up with Chinky Oswaldo and resumed operations. As a matter of fact, the man was moving more yayo on the streets. The man Rayful Evans from his prison cell in Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary. He was moving more coke on the streets than he was when he was a free man on the streets. You know what I mean? Long story short, 1994, the feds been listening to his phone calls. You know what I mean? They bust the man because the man is making moves on the penitentiary line. You know what I mean? On the phones in the feds. The Fed's been listening, tapping into his conversations. He gets knocked for cocaine distribution. The man, Rayful Edmonds, now becomes an informant, okay? And with him being an informant, the man got a lot of fellas from Washington, D.C. He set up a lot of dudes, some good men out there from the city. Put him in and set him up with DEA agents, buying and bust type of stuff. And the man, he basically got a lot of fellas knocked, you know what I mean, and locked up. So from 1994, and Rayful's excuse was, look, he's also trying to get his mother, who was also, because, in the initial case where he got life, he had it was basically almost like a family operation. Had a lot of aunts, cousins, moms, a lot of people who was involved in this cocaine distribution. And in 1994, he was basically making the excuse that why he snitched on a lot of these dudes from D.C. was also to get his mother reduced time. Whatever, that's neither here nor there. From then on out, Slim is a snitch, you know what I mean? An informant, you know what I mean? No love for informants, not even cheese for a rat, you know what I'm saying? Like my man B Neezy said. Big up to my man B Neezy out there. Salute. All right, now, the man Rayful Edmonds, like I said, from 1994 is an informant, all right? And he been cooperating since. You know what I mean? Go look at the man Kevin Gray's case, Rodney Moore. You know what I mean? If you don't know who these names are, just go do your homework, man. Washington, D.C. under major players in the drug game. You know what I mean? Rayful Edmonds managed to still snitch on these guys in the 2000s. I mean, the year 2000 and beyond. Up until 2016, 17, 18, 2019, Slim is still snitching in the feds, you know what I mean? On fellas in the streets, okay? So that's the backdrop of the man, Rayful Edmonds. He's been in a kind of witness protection kind of prison, same like fellas like Nicky Barnes was in before he got released, and or Alpo Martinez from New York City, who snitched on a whole lot of dudes from D.C. too, including Wayne Perry, you know what I mean? So that's the backdrop on the man, Rayful Edmonds. So in a 72-page decision, the judge wrote that the man, Rayful Edmonds, involvement in the criminal enterprise and him be cooperating, he should get his sentence reduced to 20 years, you know what I mean? And that reduction has been reflected on his cooperation with the government, you know what I'm saying? And but like I said, he might not be still released anytime soon, which I highly doubt it. I think he's going to come home soon because of a case that's stemming from Pennsylvania, because he was moving coke from the phone lines in Lewisburg Penitentiary, and that's in Pennsylvania, you know what I mean? So, in 2019, federal prosecutors, they filed a motion that the man Rayful Edmonds' sentence reduction should be applied because the man, you know what I mean, they acknowledge that the man has been one of the top tier informants, not just one snitch like Slim been just snitched on one person back in 89, 1990, or 94 or whatever. Nah, this man been telling the whole time he been in the joint, man, you know what I mean? So, Rayful Edmonds wants to come home, you know what I mean? And like I said, I think the man's gonna come home. You know what I mean? Really and truly, you know what I'm saying? I don't think this case in Pennsylvania is gonna hold him back, you know what I mean? Like I said, he could face hurdles in Pennsylvania, but but he already secured a favor from Pennsylvania officials in '97 when he decided to cooperate in exchange for having his mother. Her name is Constance Perry, to be released, you know what I mean? So the man was already working with the Pennsylvania authorities, you know what I'm saying? So, that's what it is, man. The man Rayful Edmonds, he been in the joint since like I said, 89, 32 years, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? The man was made, they said, the feds say between 85 and 89, he was making about $2 million a week. This for the cocaine, crack and cocaine distribution. You know what I'm saying? At them times, Washington, D.C. was the murder capital of the world. Right here, you know, Washington, D.C. ain't no state. It's a city that probably has about 600, maybe 650,000 people. You know what I mean? Not a big major city. Of course, it's the nation's capital. Everybody around the world knows Washington, D.C. You know what I mean? Washington, D.C. We also trendsetters, Washington, D.C. You know what I mean? That's just the truth about it. For a small city, you know what I mean? We definitely trendsetters. And Rayful Edmonds, you know, those were the heydays of Washington, D.C., you know what I mean? You check it, Rayful Edmonds was the type, you know what I mean, where his fellas would go to Sugar Ray Leonard fights in Las Vegas. That's where he met his connect, his major connect. He met his major connect in Las Vegas when they went to see Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler. You already know who Sugar Ray Leonard and them was, who Rayful Edmonds and them was rooting for. Of course, they rooted for Ray Leonard. Ray Leonard is a Maryland D.C. product. You know what I mean? You know, would catch flights out to Vegas to watch Ray Leonard, shopping in Georgetown, shopping in Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. You know what I mean? From Washington, D.C. So let's get into it. Me personally, I don't give a fuck about Rayful Edmonds. He's a rat. And we don't condone no snitches, you know what I'm saying? But the man they do need to free, and I wish Donald Trump freed him before he got up out of office, is the man Tony Lewis, you know what I mean? Free Tony Lewis, you know. Tony Lewis, a good man from Hanover Place, Northwest Washington, D.C., right there off North Capitol, you know. Slim he ain't catch no bodies, you know what I mean? Just was convicted of being Rayful Edmonds' co-D, you know what I'm saying? Rayful Edmonds might be granted release. I think they need to release, not I think, they should release the man Tony Lewis Sr., you know? Tony Lewis Jr., shout outs to him, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure he lobbied like hell to get his pops released, but it might have fallen on deaf ears, you know, but, you know, if they freed fellas like Guy Fisher, you know what I mean? And Guy Fisher, a salute to Guy Fisher, them fellas also had bodies on this case, you know what I mean? Tony Lewis don't, you know? So it is what it is, you know what I mean? But Rayful Edmonds, they trying to grant him a 20 year reduction. He's already done 32. So that means if Pennsylvania grants him clemency, he's going to be up out of there, you know what I mean? I don't know if he's going to be walking the streets of D.C. because he put a lot of good men from Washington, D.C. in prison, and their families are still out there on the streets. It's different from Alpo. Alpo's walking around, running around in Harlem. I don't know if he's been to D.C. I don't know. I've heard rumors, but, you know, you can't just go with rumors that he been to Washington, D.C., you know what I mean? But ain't nobody going to really probably mess with him up there in Harlem. But I don't think it's safe for a man like Rayful Edmonds to be walking around the streets of D.C. after what he's done to fellas from the city, you know what I mean? B. Marsh Boxley, your thoughts and comments. Let me know what y'all think about Rayful Edmonds being granted a 20-year reduction from his life sentence. All right, B. Marsh Boxley, I'm gone. Peace.